Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got a combo that one of you guys requested to test out, and I definitely think it's going to be a pretty interesting combo because it could work out surprisingly well or it could be pretty terrible. But as for the shells we've brought out here today, I got out some more of the good old Federal game loads. They are a 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch 1 ounce payload of lead 6s moving about 1290 feet per second, and these are not technically a turkey shell. They're a low brass basic small game shell. Doves, squirrels, rabbits, that kind of stuff. But we have tested these once or twice before for turkeys, and they were actually surprisingly decent for what they are. Definitely not a straight up turkey type of pattern, but plenty good enough. And this kind of continues our testing with how good can field loads actually perform through turkey setups, and are they good enough to, take out on a turkey hunt for the cheap. So definitely a pretty interesting loading, but I think the big question mark is today's choke and how the combo is going to actually work together. But as for today's setup, I brought out the Remington 1187. It's got a 28-inch barrel on it, and for the choke, we've got the Kicks Gobblin Thunder, but this one is a 655 constriction, so definitely starting to creep down there into the tight turkey choke range for a 12 gauge. Now this could go one of a couple ways. A 655 could be way too tight for this shell and completely ruin our pattern. It's absolutely a valid possibility. Or sometimes cheap basic shells like that prefer a little more choke like this 655, so it might work out perfectly for them. It really could go either way, so we're just going to have to see what happens. But as for today's test, I'm not going to handicap these at all, even though they're not technically a turkey shell. We're going to run everything the same as we usually do. So I've got the turkey target at 40 yards and the chronograph so we can get our velocity out of the shell. So let's get you guys a view of that target and see what these basic Federal game load 6s are actually capable of through a Kicks 655. I don't know what we're going to see, but let's take our shot and see what we get. Alright, that shell gave us 1307 through the chrono. Boss claim is 1290, so that's 17 above that claim. And I'd say we're moving right about what we should be seeing from a 28-inch barrel plus a little bit of choke. So nothing out of the ordinary here, and 1300 is more than enough for a turkey at 40 from a lead 6. So what kind of a pattern did they actually give us down there? Let's go check it out and see. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and what we see here is pretty interesting. Now, first off, do we have a dead turkey? Yes, we do. There is one right through the middle of his neck there, and of course you would have had a bunch of them down through the body, so you would have gotten that turkey. However, he may have flopped around quite a bit. And I'm surprised, but we actually patterned a touch low and a touch left. That 1187 with that Kicks 655 generally hits pretty much right on the money with a lot of the shells we put through it. So these might be just a touch off in that particular setup, which is why you always test your combos before you actually just take them out into the turkey woods. Either way, is this a good enough pattern to take turkeys with it at 40 yards? Yes, it is. However, I don't think I would push it any farther than that, and if I was running this particular combination, I would keep it probably at least 35 and in, but probably 30 yards and in is going to be very reliable all day long, no doubt about it. Now, since we were a touch off from that turkey paper, I will go ahead and pop up a 10-inch equivalent circle right around the core of our pattern, and really, it's not too terrible. We might have a little bit of a void right above that Birchwood KC logo in the bottom left corner of that turkey paper, but it's nothing huge. That middle 10 inches or so really isn't bad. It's not necessarily a super hot core area, but it's more than good enough for a 40-yard turkey hunt. Now, around the edges here, we definitely have a bunch of little splotchy and sporadic stuff all over the rest of the paper. Now, of course, we're trying to do something here with a shell that isn't designed to turkey hunt necessarily, and it's definitely not really intended to go through that tight of a choke. So we're doing something that it's not really supposed to do, so we can't expect a lot out of it since this isn't a turkey shell, but I definitely think that is too much choke for this particular load. Usually when we run these shells, they're pretty consistent and pretty even pattern. They might not always be the tightest patterning shell, but they're at least pretty uniform and even and nice and circular. However, you can see all the splotchy stuff in the voids, especially as we get outside of our core area. So we definitely started to blow that pattern open, and it's just more choke than what we need. So I think if we try these through something maybe 660 or 665, that might be a little bit better than what this is as far as trying to get a turkey pattern out of these shells. And that's probably about what I expected to see. This could have worked out nicely considering what these shells are, but I think we kind of stepped over the fence a little bit on this one as far as getting too much constriction. So I don't think this pattern is too surprising. Yes, it is technically good enough, but it's nothing I would immediately go out and switch to. And I think there are much better combos or chokes out there that can get us a little better pattern than what this did as far as turkeys go. So I think it's still worth trying a couple more combos because I think we can get a little better, but this one did about what I expected it to, all things considered. And here's the wad out of that shell. As you can see, very basic, nothing fancy here. And I don't really even think these wads do much as far as controlling the shot to pattern tighter necessarily. It's pretty much just there to keep the pellets from running into your bore or your choke or anything like that more than anything else. Very short, stubby. I mean, there's my thumb beside it. Definitely not full length or anything like that. This is a field load, so nothing surprising. But there's really not a ton of major damage for going through a ported kicks choke that's that tight. A little bit of pinholing on some of the pedals, but that's not surprising at all with how thin it is and stuff. Overall, nothing unexpected and looks very much how I figured it would. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that result right there? I don't think it's the worst thing we could have seen out of these shells. I think it could have gotten a lot worse as far as our pattern goes with that tight of a choke. And again, that is capable of taking a turkey out at 40 yards. I mean, 1,300 feet per second with a lead number 6. Doesn't matter if it's from a longbeard shell or a field load. A number 6 pellet is still a number 6 pellet at that velocity. So yes, it is capable. If I was to use this combo, I would probably try and stick to 30 yards or so and in, and it's going to be more than fine. The turkey's not going to tell the difference. Overall, I don't think it did anything unexpected. It's not a turkey shell, and we ran it through a tight choke. I think that's probably what a lot of us expected to see. Now, I do think with a touch less constriction, we can even this pattern up just a little bit, especially from what we've seen from these shells previously. They're generally a pretty nice circular even spread, so we can definitely refine them a little bit there. But I think in this case, it was probably just a little bit too much choke overall. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these federal game loads for turkeys? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? Is that a pattern or a combo you would ever hunt with? Or would you rather see it a little bit more refined than that? And what other shells or choke combos do you want to see us run when it comes to these field loads for turkey hunting? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.